I do not own a Nintendo Switch 2, but honestly, after this most recent Direct, I gotta say, I still don't think I'll be getting one anytime soon. Yeah, this Direct was kinda weak. I feel like I saw a lot of people glazing it and hyped over it on the first day or so, but man, I was just not feeling it. I didn't watch it when it was live because I'm not getting up that early, but even watching it after the fact and with the ability to skim and skip around at will, I just felt like there wasn't really anything particularly exciting in it. Plus, I feel like it really exemplified a lot of the issues that I've been having with Nintendo Directs as a whole lately, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First, I want to spend some time to talk about some of the specific announcements and how I feel about them. Don't worry, I won't be covering every single little thing, I just want to talk about the major points. So first, we have the Super Mario Bros. 40th anniversary. To be completely honest, I kind of forgot that was happening. They showed a teaser for the next Mario movie, the Super Mario Galaxy movie. I enjoyed the first one. It's not exactly high art, but it was fun. For this one though, let me just say, if you're already jumping to an adaptation of Super Mario Galaxy for the second movie in this franchise, all I'm saying is that you better lock in, because my expectations just shot way up. I am a little curious who the bad guy is going to be. I suppose the obvious answer would be Bowser, considering, he's the bad guy in like every Mario game ever. But who knows, considering this is a film series, I feel like reusing the same exact villain over and over again may not be the best idea. They could pull in a more obscure character from one of Mario's older games. At last, we can have the triumphant return of Tatanga from Super Mario Land. What, you don't think that's gonna happen? Hey, they prominently included Foreman Spike in the first Mario movie, okay? And that's like one of the most niche Mario characters out there, okay? Anything is possible. Oh hey, look at that, they're finally releasing Mario Galaxy 2 on the Switch. I don't know why they couldn't just re-release Mario 3D All-Stars and include it in that, maybe with 3D Land as well, but oh well, they're selling it as a bundle with Galaxy 1, so I guess it's not too bad. $70? Okay, I love the Mario Galaxy games. They are by far my favorite games of all time, Galaxy 1 and 2. In fact, just recently, I've been playing through Super Mario Galaxy 2 for the first time in a long time. I love these games. But they're also like 15 years old. And it's not like they're remasters, they're just ports. They upscaled the rendering a little bit so that it's 4K, and they changed some of the UI elements to match the Switch controllers. That's it. Oh yeah, I guess they did also add some new chapters to Rosalina's storybook, which is kind of neat, but that is not enough. Look, I'm pretty confident in calling myself a lifelong Nintendo fan, okay? I've had pretty much every Nintendo console all the way from the GameCube and onward. I even have some older ones from before my time, like the N64 and Super NES. But man, Nintendo is so greedy right now that I cannot justify supporting them in any significant way at the moment. Every time I feel like I'm kind of close to getting a Switch 2, they pull some dumb shit like this, selling 15-plus-year-old games at a $70 price tag when they just sold one of them as part of a 3-pack for $60. Not to mention, both Galaxy 1 and 2 were both sold on the Wii U eShop for $20 each. What changed? I'll tell you what changed. Nintendo got confident. After the Switch was a huge success, now they're riding off of that and acting like they're on top of the world. As much as the Wii U era kinda sucked, it was also nice because Nintendo had a lot to prove there, and so they didn't feel nearly as greedy and money hungry as they do now. This, unfortunately, is going to be a bit of a recurring theme throughout this Direct video. But anyway, let's move on. At least the Mario Galaxy amiibo looked pretty cool. The biggest thing, though, is an actual physical release of Rosalina's storybook. Dude, I have wanted this for so long, and they're finally doing it. Yes! Weirdly, it apparently will not include the new pages that they're adding to the Galaxy 1 and 2 re-release on the Switch, but oh well, I don't really care that much. The original storybook was already a masterpiece. This was unironically the announcement I was most excited about when watching this Direct. Alright, let me switch gears and talk about the major announcements throughout the rest of the Direct. First, we got a new Mario Tennis game, Mario Tennis Fever. It looks alright. I'm not really huge on Mario Tennis. It was always one of my least favorite of the Mario Sports sub-series. This one looks kind of interesting with how you can mix and match different tennis rackets and stuff for different effects. But overall, I'm just not big on Mario Tennis. Not for me. Donkey Kong Bananza DLC looks pretty good. I like that they added DK Island as a new area to explore. It looks very similar to how it looked in Donkey Kong 64. Plus, the Emerald Rush mode seems like it'd be pretty fun. Reminds me a lot of the Luigi's Balloon Adventure thing in Mario Odyssey. Just something really replayable. It's fun to come back to over and over again. Here's the thing though, this DLC, $20. You know how I just compared the Emerald Rush mode to Luigi's Balloon Adventure? Yeah, that update was free. And sure, this looks a little more substantive than that. Plus the new DK Island is obviously more substantial than anything Mario Odyssey ever got. But it is nowhere near worth $20. Who the hell are you kidding, Nintendo? Certainly not me. This is like a $5 DLC, maybe 10 at most. Speaking of DLC, can we talk about the fact that they revealed a major DLC expansion for Pokemon Legends ZA before the game is even out? Yeah, that's gonna be a yikes from me, brother. Don't do that. We've got some new footage of Metroid Prime 4. Looks really good, as usual. The new motorcycle Samus rides looks pretty fun. Plus the new suit design looks great. Can't wait to play it on my Switch 1, because I sure as hell ain't getting a Switch 2. I honestly forgot for a little bit that they revealed a new Yoshi game. It's certainly visually pretty, but man does it look boring. Hey, so it's just like every other Yoshi game. I'm sorry to all the Yoshi fans in my audience, but I have just never cared about this franchise. They do look pretty though, and they got good music. They showed off the Switch 2 edition of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Definitely not the direction I was expecting. It's basically a bunch of multiplayer mini-games and like competitive versus modes. It looks fun, but I feel like with content like that, if you're not going to include it in the base game, I'm not sure you should bother including it at all. I feel like saving that for a Switch 2 edition, when most people have already played through the original game and had fun with it, it's kind of too little too late. Shockingly, there was no announcement or even talk of any Mario Kart World DLC. Not that I necessarily expected them to show anything, but I'm a little surprised they didn't at least confirm that something was coming. I would have figured, since Mario Kart World seems to be the marquee title that they're positioning as the game to get for the Switch 2, it seems a bit odd that they wouldn't have immediately jumped on the DLC train with that. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's coming, eventually, but I don't know, I feel like it would have been in their best interest to announce that as early as possible, you know? There's also quite a few third-party announcements for the Nintendo Direct, tons of ports and indie games, most of which are already out on other platforms. I feel like these kind of announcements are cool for people who already own a Switch or Switch 2, but for people like me that don't have a Switch 2, this is doing nothing to entice me, because I can literally just play nearly all of these games on Steam, and they'll probably run better. The one third-party announcement that did surprise me was Resident Evil 9 Requiem. Although, if I may be honest, I actually did not realize at first that this game had already been announced. I thought this was a brand new announcement for this Nintendo Direct. Goes to show how out of the loop I am, I guess. Looks pretty good. It is nice that it's coming to the Switch too. But yeah, originally I was gonna count this as a point in favor of this Nintendo Direct, as like, ooh, that's kind of a big announcement. But yeah, turns out that it was not, in fact, a big announcement. It was already revealed weeks ago. So, oops. Joke's on me for not paying enough attention to gaming news, I guess. There was one strange absence though, and that is Dusk Bloods. I know that game is probably a ways off in terms of its release, but I thought they would have at least talked about it a little bit or even showed off some new footage. But nope, it's just completely missing from this Direct. Okay. All right, now before I talk about the final announcement, I need to bring this up. So they start talking about the Nintendo Switch Online and adding more stuff to that. And I'm like, okay, ooh, maybe they're gonna add Nintendo DS games. That would be cool. Nope, they revealed the Virtual Boy. Now, at first, I wasn't entirely upset with this. If anything, I thought it was kind of funny. It's just a little bonus to throw in there. It's like, hey, you know, you can play through these. It's a little bit of game preservation in a way. Even if the Virtual Boy itself is infamous for being a terrible piece of hardware, it's good to at least preserve the games in some way for people who care about playing them. And then they revealed the Virtual Boy accessory. And at this point, I'm still okay with it, because I think, okay, you know, that's kind of fun. You know, it's for people who want to collect it, experience a more authentic version of these Virtual Boy games, even if it is extremely uncomfortable. And then they reveal the fact that you cannot play Virtual Boy games on Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack unless you have this accessory.
The dedicated accessory needed to play Virtual Boy Nintendo Classics will be available in the future.
Dude, come on. So not only do you have to be paying a subscription fee to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack to even have access to the Virtual Boy games, but to actually play them, you need to have a Nintendo Switch 2 accessory that costs $100. This accessory does nothing. You insert the Nintendo Switch into it, and that's what functions as the pseudo VR screen. It is a plastic equivalent to Google Cardboard VR. which is ironic because there's also a cardboard version that's much cheaper. But if you think about it, functionally, they're identical. They're doing the exact same thing, just one's made out of cardboard and one's made out of hard plastic. It doesn't do anything. Why are we paying $100 for a piece of plastic that isn't even good or comfortable to use? Isn't the Virtual Boy infamous for being absolutely god-awful to use? Again, if it was optional, which who knows, maybe it is. It's not entirely clear, but from everything that they've said, it doesn't seem to be. If it was optional, then I would be more okay with it, because then it's just kind of a goofy little side thing that you can purchase if you want for a more authentic experience. But to say that this accessory is required to play Virtual Boy games, so they're just re-releasing the Virtual Boy. Like, unironically. It's not like a tribute or fun little accessory thing. No, like it's the Virtual Boy. Again, with the same problems and the same games. Just now you need an additional $500 console to even use it. I suppose I should also bring up the fact that no, there was no Smash Bros at this Direct. Although to be honest, I wasn't really expecting there to be any Smash Bros announcements. As much as I love Smash Bros the games, I'm kind of done with the Smash Bros community as a whole. The whole thing is really toxic and super annoying to deal with because all they ever do is just screech about Smash Bros at every Nintendo event basically. Play other games for goodness sake, not everything revolves around Super Smash Bros. Besides, I don't even know what the future holds for Smash Bros. Considering Sakurai is currently working on Kirby Air Riders, I highly doubt that they're actively working on another game. And if they are, it would probably be without Sakurai's direct involvement, which would be a first for the series. More than likely, if there's going to be any Smash Bros. Announcements for this generation, it's probably going to be an enhanced version of Smash Ultimate, not an entirely new game. I could be wrong, but that's just how I'm feeling. Now, as for the final announcement of the Direct, the one more thing that they always leave for the end because it's the big hype thing, that one more thing was Fire Emblem. Look, I don't want to be mean to Fire Emblem fans, okay? I know Fire Emblem games themselves are good for people that enjoy that type of game. I do not. I am not really into tactical RPGs at all, and so Fire Emblem really does not appeal to me in any way. This one does look good, at least. It looks better than the last one, Engage or whatever it was. It looks more along the lines of Three Houses and Awakening, which is a good sign. But man, I still feel like that's kind of a weird way to end the Direct. Are the Fire Emblem games really that popular? As much as Nintendo's been pushing them as of late, I still feel like they're kinda niche overall. I could be wrong though. I'd have to look at the sales numbers.
A few moments later.
Okay, I just looked at the sales numbers for Three Houses, and it's actually pretty good. Over 4.12 million copies by the end of 2022. That's pretty good. But honestly, that seems like it's about at the same level as like how the Metroid games usually perform, and Nintendo definitely doesn't put those on the same pedestal that they have with Fire Emblem. I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me. They seem to be kind of forcing it into this big spot when at the end of the day, not that many people care. Oh well, looks alright, just a weird way to end the Direct. Now, before I close out this video, I do want to spend a little bit of time to talk about some of the things that bother me about recent Nintendo Directs as a whole. And keep in mind, when I say recent Nintendo Directs, I'm talking like the last several years, like since the Switch 1 launched, more or less. I feel like a lot of recent Nintendo Directs have been very bloated. They spend way too much time over-explaining things and repeating themselves. Every single random game that's getting ported to the Switch has to have like a 2-minute explanation of what the game is and how it works. This game has been out for like 3 years. We already know how it works. Just say it's coming and leave it at that. Ugh, and that thing they do where after a more prominent reveal, they'll cut to the host and they basically just repeat exactly what was just said by the narrator. We already heard this. You don't have to repeat it. This Direct was over an hour long and it could have been like 30 to 40 minutes at most if you cut out all the filler it had. And look, I get it. A lot of these things are subjective. Some people are going to be super excited by certain announcements, while for other people it's going to be a complete nothing burger. And that's perfectly okay. Everyone has different opinions and tastes. But for me, I feel like it would be much more effective if they just stuck to the major announcements for things and then kept all of the ports and other little stuff as just a sizzle reel or a super rapid fire thing where they just go through them within like 20 seconds. Oh, and then the other thing that bothers me that Nintendo does in these Directs, and they've been doing this since the Switch 1 launched, it's that weird thing they do. There was a whole Arlo video about this, where everything has to be listed so properly that it makes it really awkward. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just listen to this.
The Donkey Kong Bonanza, DK Island, and Emerald Rush paid DLC launches on Nintendo Switch 2 later today.
You hear what they're doing, right? They're referring to every single thing as the blank game, or the blank system, or the blank DLC, etc. Again, it kind of fits into the overly explaining everything aspect that I feel like has been plaguing these directs for a little while. I get why they're doing it from a legal standpoint, especially after the infamously terrible launch of the Wii U and no one having any clue what it was. I can understand them trying to be more clear about what it is that they're selling and promoting, but there's gotta be a better way to do this. It just drags on and on every time and makes these directs even longer than they need to be. We're here to see you talk about new Nintendo announcements. We're not here to listen to a contract. So I guess those are my thoughts on the most recent Nintendo Direct on September 12th. Overall, I thought it was pretty weak. There weren't really any major announcements. There was like 1 or 2 new games that we didn't know about before coming from Nintendo. Everything else was either DLC or ports or third-party ports. Nothing really that interesting, to be honest. But what did you think about the Nintendo Direct? Were there any announcements that I didn't talk about that you really liked? If so, leave a comment down below. And if you liked this video, feel free to leave a like. I really appreciate it. I'm Nova Star Kyle, and I will see you next time.